Hello viewers, you are welcome back to our channel, African Stories, Folktales and Jokes. The title of our stories today centered around Zarak and his two wives, Bintu and Amina. The saga continues. Today's title is She Rejected Her Own Son, but his stepmother became his true hero. Let's go. The cry that ripped through the compound was not a normal child's cry. It was a scream of pure, deep hurt. It was the sound of a little heart breaking. Adeshina, Bintu's 6-year-old son, was on the floor sobbing. His small body shook. His mother, Bintu, stood over him, her face twisted in anger. "You will not call her mother," she screamed. "I am your mother. That woman is a snake." Amina stood frozen in the doorway of her room, her hand on her large pregnant belly. Her own son, 4-year-old Bidemi, peeked out from behind her legs, his eyes wide with fear. The trouble had started moments before Adeshina had been sitting with Amina and Bidemi, as he always did. Amina was teaching Bidemi to count 1, 2, 3. She was teaching Bidemi to count his numbers. Bidemi repeated, his voice bright and clear. Adeshina watched, his eyes loving but slow. His mother, Bintu, stood over him, her face twisted in anger. "You will not call her mother," she screamed. "I am your mother. That woman is a snake." Amina stood frozen in the doorway of her room, her hand on her large pregnant belly. Her own son, 4-year-old Bidemi, peeked out from behind her legs, his eyes wide with fear. The trouble had started moments before Adeshina had been sitting with Amina and Bidemi, as he always did. Amina was teaching Bidemi to count 1, 2, 3. Bidemi repeated, his voice bright and clear. Adeshina watched, his eyes loving but slow. His brain, damaged from not having enough food as a baby, struggled to learn. When they finished, Adeshina hugged Amina. "Thank you, mother," he had said softly. It was a name he had started using. To him, it felt true. Amina fed him when he was hungry. She patted his head when he was sad. She let him sleep on a mat next to Bidemi, her own son. She was kind. His real mother, Bintu, was only sharp words and hard slaps. Bintu had heard him. She had stormed across the courtyard, her eyes burning. She had grabbed Adeshina and thrown him to the ground. "You foolish boy," she yelled now. "Your brain is as useless as your father's love. If you call her mother again, I will ask the ground to swallow you, and I will ask the river to carry you away." The other wives in the compound heard the curses. They came out of their rooms, their hands covering their mouths in shock. A mother cursing her own child? It was a terrible, unthinkable thing. Amina's heart ached for the boy. "Bintu, please," she begged. "He's just a child. He does not understand. Stay out of this, being to spat. She pointed a shaking finger at Additional. You are shown. You are not welcome on my side of the compound. You want a new mother? Go to her. See if her food can fix your broken head. She turned and marched back into her room, slamming the door so hard the whole house shook. The courtyard went quiet. The only sound was Additional's quiet crying. He lay on the dusty ground, alone and rejected. Then something amazing happened. Little Bidemi, only 4 years old, let go of his mother's skirt. He walked over to his brother. He did not say a word. He simply sat down on the ground next to Additional and put his small arm around his brother's shaking shoulder. Amina's eyes filled with tears. She walked over and knelt beside the two boys. She was big with her third child, and it was hard to bend down. Additional, she whispered, look at me. The boy looked up, his face wet with tears. You are always welcome with me, Amina. Amina said. You are always welcome with me. Amina said, her voice strong and clear for everyone to hear. You can always eat my food. You can always sleep in my room. You are Abidemi's brother. That makes you my son too. She helped the 6-year-old boy to his feet. He was thin and small for his age. Bidemi, 2 years younger, was already almost as big as him. Holding both boys' hands, Amina led them into her room. That night, Additional did not go back to his mother's side of the compound. He unrolled his small mat right next to Bidemi's on the floor of Amina's room. For the first time since the screaming started, he felt safe. He felt loved. But outside, in the dark compound, Bintu watched Amina's light go out. Her anger was a fire inside her. Amina had not just stolen her husband's love, now she was stealing her son. This was not how it was supposed to be. Bintu lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She remembered when Additional was a baby. She remembered looking down at his tiny face. But instead of seeing her son, she saw Sarak. She saw the man who had kidnapped her, who had locked her away, who had broken her spirit. The hatred she felt for Sarak was so strong, it spilled onto the baby. She could not bring herself to breastfeed him. Her own milk felt like a poison connecting her to the man she hated. The other wives had begged her, Bintu, feed your child. Do not punish the boy for his father's sins. But she could not listen. Her heart was too hard. Sarak had found the baby crying, growing thinner each day. He was furious. He took little Additional to the hospital. The doctors were angry. This child is starving, they told Sarak. His brain is not getting the food it needs to grow. What kind of parents are you? They gave the baby special milk, but the damage was done. Additional's brain had suffered. He learned to walk late. He learned to talk late. At 4 years old, he could not speak properly. He stumbled when he walked. Meanwhile, Amina's son, Bidemi, was a bright, strong boy. At 2 years old, he was already talking, already running. He was a handsome and smart boy, just like his mother and father. And additionally, with a heart full of love and a mind that was slow, was drawn to the kindness in Amina's house, his stepmother. He never had the food his mother cooked. He always went to Amina's room. He loved Bidemin like his own blood brother. All this made Bintu crazy with anger. She would beat Adeshina for eating Amina's food. Once, she had dragged him away from Amina's door, just like he was about to eat. The child cried and cried, a loud, desperate wail. The noise brought Sarak's uncle, the owner of the big compound. He came in angrily with two of his friends. What is all this noise? The uncle boomed. A man cannot have peace in his own house. He barked. Zarak was embarrassed. He explained, "It is my son, Adeshina. He will only eat the food from my second wife, Amina." The men looked at the crying boy, then at Bintu's angry face, and then at Amina's gentle one. One of the friends laughed a joking laugh. "Well, so what? If the boy eats our food and leaves, then let him eat. Even if it was a witch food. If he eats it and is strong, it is fine." He said it as a joke, but Bintu did not hear a joke. She heard the truth. Her mind, filled with hate, twisted the words. A witch food. She looked at Amina. She thought, Amina is trying to poison my son. Or she's using magic to steal his love from me. I would never. Amina had cried out, her eyes wide with shock. I would never hurt a child. I love Adeshina. Even the other wives of the compound who were on Bintu's side knew it was true. They whispered to each other, "We are the one who might do such a thing in secret. Not modern, sweet Amina. She does not have a wicked heart like us." But Bintu did not believe them. The fight for the children became a fight for something else. Money. Zarak was getting richer and richer. That's their husband. His business selling building material was the best in the city. The other wives came to cancel Bintu. They were not her real friends. They just liked the drama. "Bintu, you are a fool," they told her. "You only have one son. Amina already has two. She has 2 children and is pregnant with a third. When Zarak dies, his wealth will be shared among his wives and children. If you have only one child, you will get only one small part. Amina and her children will get all the rest. They will be rich and you will be poor." Bintu had never thought of this. She was so busy hating Zarak that she did not think about his money. But now, a new idea grew in her mind. She still dreamed of running away to find her old lover, Kofi. But soon, she had news that broke her heart. Kofi had given up on her. He had married another woman and moved to Ghana. Bintu's last hope was gone. She was trapped forever in Zarak's house. If she was trapped, then she would make the best of it. She turned all her attention to one goal: how to get all of Zarak's money. And the only way she knew was to have many, many children. The more children she had, the bigger her share of the inheritance would be. So, she started having more babies. It was not out of love. It was a war. A childbirth competition. Zarak was surprised. After Adeshina, Bintu had never wanted him to come to her room. Now she allowed it. Soon she was pregnant, and within 3 years, Bintu had more children. First, a girl, then another boy. Now Bintu had 3 children, but Amina was pregnant with her 4th. The competition was fierce, but in the middle of this war, there was a small, quiet place in Amina's room. Amina did not care about Bintu's children. She only cared about her own and about poor Adeshina, who his mothers had rejected. Every day she taught Bidemi. She taught him his numbers and his letters. Adeshina always sat with them. He tried so hard to learn. His brow was wrinkled in concentration, but the numbers would get mixed up in his head. 2, 4, 1, he would say softly. Bidemi, Amina's child, with his fast, bright brain, would gently correct him. No, brother, it's 1, 2, 3. They were best friends. They were brothers in their hearts. And Adeshina, who received no love from his own mother, gave all his love to Amina, his stepmother. The words came out naturally. My mother, he will call her. And that was the sound that finally broke Bintu. The sound of her own son giving her title to her enemy. The morning after Adeshina slept in Amina's room, the real war began. Bintu went to the most powerful herbalist she knew. She spent a lot of Sarak's money. I need 2 things, she told the herbalist, her voice cold as ice. I need a charm to make me have many, many children. And I need a charm to stop Amina from having any more. Make her womb dry up. The herbalist gave her 2 small leather pouches. Wear this one for many children, he said, and hide this one under the mat in her doorway to block her womb. Bintu did exactly as she was told. She wore one pouch around her waist, hidden under her clothes. That night, she crept to Amina's door. She lifted the rough mat and slipped the small, dangerous pouch underneath it. A cruel smile touched her lips. Weeks passed. Amina's pregnancy grew. She gave birth to her 4th child, another healthy boy. Bintu's evil charm had not worked. But Bintu's own charm did work. She soon found she was pregnant again, this time around with twins. The house was now full of children. Bintu had 5 children. Amina had 4. The compound was never quiet. It was a chaos of crying babies and running feet. But the line between the 2 sides were like a wall you could not see. Bintu's children stayed on her side. Amina's children stayed on her side. All except for one, Adeshina. He was now 8 years old. He lived full time with Amina. He called Amina mother. He called Bintu, his own mother, auntie. This was the greatest pain for Bintu. Every time she had it, it was like a knife in her heart. One afternoon, the knife went in too deep. Sarad had come home with a special treat. Sweet, juicy mangoes. He gave them to all the children. The kids were so happy. They sat in the courtyard, the sticky juice running down their chins. Additional got his mango. and without thinking ran straight to Amina. Mother, mother, look, he said, his face shining with joy. Father brought us mangoes. Thank you. He said it to Amina. He called Sarak father, but he gave the thanks to Amina. Bintu saw it all from her doorway. Something inside her snapped. All the years of hate, all the jealousy, all the pain of a stolen life and a stolen son exploded. She did not scream. She did not shout. She walked slowly to the middle of the courtyard. She pointed at Amina. You, she said, her voice low and trembling. You have taken everything from me, but you will not take my son. Then she turned her burning eyes to Adeshina, her own child. And you, she said, you are no son of mine. From this day, you are dead to me. The food you eat in that woman's house will turn to poison in your belly. And I will ask the ground you walk on to reject you. I even caused the day you were born. The courtyard went completely silent. Even the baby stopped goggling. The air grew cold. Amina stood up, holding her youngest child to her chest. She was terrified. She could feel the evil in Bintu's word. This was not just anger. This was a deep, dark magic. A mother's curse is the most powerful thing in the world. She looked at Adeshina. The boy's face was white with fear. He did not understand the words, but he felt the hate behind them. He started to cry, silent tears rolling down his cheeks. Bintu turned and walked away, leaving a terrible silence behind her. That night, Adeshina would not eat the food Amina cooked. He was too scared. It will turn to poison, he whispered, repeating his mother's curse. No, my son, Amina said, holding him close. My love is stronger than I hate. My food is made with love. It will make you strong. Eat it, you will not die. But the boy was too afraid. He went to bed hungry. Amina could not sleep. She knew Binti had declared a new kind of war. A war that used dark magic. She was not just fighting for Sarak's money anymore. She was fighting for the souls of the children. She looked at Bidemi and Adeshina, sleeping side by side on their mats. She looked at her own 4 children, sleeping peacefully. She knew she had to protect them all. She had beaten Bintu to save her baby. She had faced the blacksmith water. She had survived the loneliness. But this one was different. This was a cause. How do you fight a cause? Amina did not know. But as she watched the boys sleep, she made a promise. She will find a way. She will protect her family. She will show them that a mother's love is the most powerful magic of all. The story was not over. The stakes were higher than ever. The war between the 2 wives was now a fight for the future. The sun was just a pink promise in the sky when Amina finished dressing her son. She smoothed down his crisp new uniform, a bright white shirt and a blue short. She combed his hair until it lay flat and neat, then rubbed coconut oil on his arms and legs until they shone. Bidemi, at 6 years old, stood as tall and proud as a little shoulder. His heart beat with a happy, nervous flutter. Today was the day he was going to school. Across the room, Adeshina watched, his eyes wide. He was 8, tall and lanky, But he called in on himself as if he wanted to be smaller. He remembered his own first day at school 2 years ago. It had ended with tears and shame. The teachers had brought him back home. They said he could not count. He did not know his ABC. His own father, Sharak, had been so embarrassed he had walked straight into his parlor without a word to his crying son. But Amina had rushed to him. She had held him and rocked him. "Don't mind them," she had whispered into his ear. "You are a brave, smart boy. Your brother loves you." And little Bidemi, only 4 then, had tottered over and made a grand promise. "I'll teach you, Brother Adeshina. I'll teach you to count to 100. Now Sarad came out, looking important. He loved Bidemi very much. He was sure this son will wipe away the memory of the embarrassment Adeshina had caused. "Is he ready?" Sarak asked, his chest puffed out. "He is," Amina said softly. Then she added, her voice gentle but firm, "Please, let Adeshina come with us. I have been teaching him. He can count now. Though slowly, he just needs patient teachers." Zarak nodded, but it was an important nod. He didn't really want to take Adeshina to make himself feel better. He made a mistake. He walked over to Bintu's door. She was sitting outside, already watching them with her sharp, hawk-like eyes. "We are taking the boys to school," Sarak said. "Do you want to come?" Bintu let out a loud hiss, like an angry snake. "Why will I waste my time on a fool who cannot learn?" She spat, looking right at Adeshina, her own son. "He will not amount to anything, just like his useless father." Zarak's face turned red with anger. He stormed out of the compound, and Amina quickly gathered both boys, hurrying after him. The queue at the primary school enrollment center was the longest line Bidemi had ever seen. It wrapped around the dusty schoolyard, full of crying children clinging to their mothers' wrappers and fathers looking serious. But Sarak, being a rich and important man, had already paid for a place at the very front. Bidemi's name was number 1 on the list. Bidemi's small hand was sweaty in Amina's. She leaned down. "Remember my champion," she whispered. "Smile big, look the teachers in the eye. You know all the answers." Soon, a teacher with a loud voice called out, "Number 1, Bidemi." They rushed forward. Adeshina trotted quietly behind them, his head down. The teacher sat at a long table. They looked tired from all the crying children. But then they saw Bidemi. He wasn't crying. He was looking straight at them with a huge, brilliant grin on his face. This immediately charmed them. One teacher smiled back. "Hello," she said. "What is your name?" "My name is Bidemi," he shouted, clear and confident. Zarak beamed with pride. He puffed his chest out even more. The teachers grinned and clapped. "Very good, Bidemi. What is your father's name?" Bidemi puffed out his own little chest, copying his father. "My father's name is Kaba," he declared. The teachers clapped again. But Sarak had stopped smiling. His face turned dark. He spun around to Amina, his eyes flashing with thunder. "Who the hell is Kaba?" he thundered, so loud that people in the queue turned to look. But Amina just laughed, a light, happy laugh. "Kaba, your friend, of course," she replied. "The one you always talk about. Kaba did this, Kaba said that, Kaba came, Kaba didn't come. Your son thinks that is your name." The anger melted from Sarak's face. He even chuckled a little. He turned back to the teachers, smiling again. My name is Sharak. I'm this boy's father. The teachers nodded, amused. They turned back to Bidemi. Okay, smart boy, one said. Let's see what you know. Count from 1 to 10 for us. Bidemi took a deep breath. This was his moment. He opened his mouth, and the numbers shot out like bullets from a gun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It took less than 2 seconds. Everyone stared. The teacher's mouth fell open. The other parents in the line gasped. They gasped. Bidemi just raised his nose in the air as if to say, that kind of question, bah, it is too easy for me. He answered all the other questions just as fast. What is this color? Red. What is this shape? A circle. Amina coached him perfectly with every correct answer. Zarak swelled with more and more pride. His smile was so wide it looked like it might split his face. This was his song, his brilliant, handsome song. Finally, the teacher looked at Additional, who had been trying to hide behind Amina's wrapper. And you, what is your name? The teacher asked kindly. Additional looked left. He looked right. He scratched his head. He swallowed hard. She. He said so slowly that it sounded like 4 different words. Can you count from 1 to 10 for us? Another teacher asked. Amina gave his hand an encouraging squeeze. Additional took a shaky breath. 1, he began. A long pause. 1, 4. He knew that was wrong. His face crumbled in confusion. No. 2. Another pause. 6. No, 3. No. 3. He stopped. His shoulders slumping. He could not remember what came after 3. The numbers were like slippery fish in his mind, and he could not catch them. Zarak's face turned dark again. The proud smile was gone, replaced by a stormy frown of embarrassment. But the teachers were kind women. They had seen the love in Amina's eyes when she looked at the tall, slow boy. They saw how Bidemi held his brother's hand. One of them laughed softly. Well, it's all right, he said. He will learn. If we don't accept him now at 8 years old, when will we? And so with a stamp of paper and a smile, both boys were accepted into primary 1. One is 6 and the other is 8 years old. Sarah grabbed Bidemi's hand, his pride restored. He walked quickly ahead, already dreaming of his son becoming a great doctor or engineer. But Amina did not hurry. She walked slowly, holding the hand of each boy. In one hand, she held the hand of her brilliant son, a champion. In the other hand, she held the hand of her courageous stepson, the boy who had faced his greatest fear and tried, even when it was hard. She looked down at Additional and smiled. You see, she said, you are a schoolboy now, just like your brother. For the first time that morning, a real small smile touched Additional's lip. He was a schoolboy, and his stepmother was proud of him. The compound gate swung open and Sarak marched in like a conquering king. His chest was puffed out and his voice boomed across the dusty courtyard. Everyone listen, he announced. My 2 sons, both of them, they are schoolboys now, primary 1 students. A wave of noise swept through the compound. The other wives who had been cooking and washing stopped their work, their eyes widened with surprise and, yes, a little jealousy. 2 schoolboys at the same time, that was a big deal. It cost a lot of money. It brought a family's great respect. They crowded around Sarak, their voices overlapping. Ah, Sarak, well done. 2 fine boys. What a blessing. Your house is blessed with knowledge. They patted him on the back, congratulating him. For a moment, Sarah basked in the glory. The memory of additional struggle completely forgotten. But one sound cut through the happy noise like a sharp knife. It was Bintu's. She hissed loudly, standing in the doorway of her room, her arms crossed. Her face was a mask of pure disgust. She did not look at Sarah. She did not look at the cheering women. Her burning eyes were fixed on her son, Additional. Additional, feeling brave from the morning success, made a mistake. A terrible, heartbreaking mistake. He thought maybe, just maybe, his mother would be proud. He walked towards her. His new blue shorts and white shirts still crisp and clean. He held out the uniform, a shy, hopeful smile on his face. "Look, Mama," he whispered. The word Mama hung in the air for a single second. Then Bintu moved like a snake. Her hand shot out. She did not touch her son. She grabbed the uniform. She crunched the clean, beautiful fabric in her fist as if it were a poisonous insect. "Fool!" he spat. "You think a uniform can fix your useless head?" With a violent flick of her wrist, she tossed the uniform across the room. It flew through the air and landed in a dirty corner right next to a pile of ash and grime. The courtyard went silent. The hope in Additional's eyes shattered. It was replaced by a deep, well-known hurt. He stood there, frozen, his empty hands still held out. A single tear escaped, tracing a clean path down his cheek, then another. Without a word, he walked to the corner. He knelt in the dirt. Gently, he picked up his uniform. The white shirt was now smog with grey ash. He held it to his chest, his whole body shaking with silent sob. It was too much for Amina to bear. She had watched the entire scene, her own heart breaking for the boy. She marched across the compound, not with anger, but with a fierce, quiet determination. She did not look at Bintu. She did not say a word to her. She went straight to Additional. She knelt beside him in the dirt, just as she had done when he was a small, crying child. She pried the dirty uniform from his trembling fingers. "It is okay, my son," she whispered, her voice soft but strong. "It is okay. I'll make it clean again." She stood up, holding the soiled clothes. She turned and faced Bintu. The two women locked eyes. No words were spoken, but a message passed between them as clear as the morning sky. Bintu's eyes said, "He is my son. I'll break him if I want to." Amina's eyes answered, "He's my son in heart. I'll protect him." The battle line was drawn. It was no longer just about food or love or money. It was about a boy's spirit. It was about the simple, beautiful hope represented by a school uniform. Amina turned and walked to the water pot. She poured clean water into a basin. She took a bar of soap and began to scrub. She scrubbed the ash from the white shirt. She scrubbed the dirt from the blue shorts. She washed away the grime, and with it, she tried to wash away the hurt. She would make it clean again. She would always try to make things clean and right for him. From her doorway, Bintu watched her lips curl in a snare, but deep down she saw it. She saw the love in Amina's action. She saw the bond that her own hate could never break, and it made the fire of her anger burn even hotter. The war for Additional's heart had just begun, and Amina had drawn a line in the sand. I think this is a convenient place to stop. The story continues in our next episode. If you had enjoyed this story or you have learned a lesson or two, I want you to encourage us by pressing the like button and then put your comments in the comment section. And don't forget to press the notification button so that when the third episode of this story unfolds, you'll be one of those to be first served. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye for now.